obsessed with this palette. If I had to pick one liner in this whole world, it would be this one. I'm obsessed. Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing my next Best in Beauty of 2020. So I have already posted two of my Best in Beauty videos. They're my base or complexion edition. This is where I talk about my favorite primers, foundations, concealers, setting powders, etc. I also have the cheek edition that I posted on Thursday, and that was about bronzers, blush, highlight, cream contour, powder contour. So if you're interested in any of those recommendations, then I will link those videos below, but today is going to be about eyes. If you guys have already seen videos or if you've already subscribed to my channel, you will notice that my background is new. I ordered a background stand and some backgrounds. I did not have time to get the wrinkles out before I started recording, so I apologize that that kind of looks crappy, but I just was too excited to not use it today, so just bear with me. So I have a lot of stuff. I try to be very selective because I do have a best and worst makeup series that I started this past year. I have only put out one video where I did my best and worst foundations. I do want to continue on that series. I'm very selective in this year's yearly videos because I do want to you know, be a little bit more in depth in those videos. So I did narrow it down pretty well, I think, considering I tried a lot of new stuff and I loved like all of it. So let's just get down to it and talk about my favorite eye products. Let's talk about brows. So my absolute favorite, and in my opinion, the best brow product from the drugstore is the NYX Eyebrow Gel. So I have it in the shade Chocolate. I haven't tried a ton of drugstore brow products, so this is just my favorite. It is one of the most budge proof brow products I've ever used. So this is a pomade type gel, that kind of consistency, but it is in a squeezy tube, so you do have to kind of squeeze it on a palette or on the back of your hand. It is a, you know, very creamy, easy to apply. It's very waterproof and long wearing, almost difficult to get off as long as you have a makeup remover or makeup wipe, or even the makeup eraser cloths will take this off. Like, it's not that hard to get off that it's like annoying, but it is like you kind of have to scrub it a little bit harder than most brow pomades. It's going to, you know, stay in the, you know, hot summer days, the humidity, the sweat. And even if you were to swim, this is one I would recommend because it is definitely waterproof. My favorite high-end is my ABH, my Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade. I used to be a big powder girl, like for brows, I mean. I used to have the big palette for all the different types of brow shades from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I do really like that. I do like their powder. It is one of my favorite powders as well. Anastasia Beverly Hills is one of my favorite brands for brow products, but the pomade is my favorite. I like the very crisp, defined, filled in brow, whereas I know a lot of you like the feathery look now. For feathery looks, the pens and the pencils are a lot better, but for those of you that like to fill in your brows like me, this is one of my absolute favorite and the one I use most frequently. I definitely recommend it. They have a good selection of color. It's long wearing, it's easy to use. I do also have a favorite brow gel from the drugstore. This is the Essence Make Me Brow Eyebrow Gel. Are you joking me right now? I'm sorry if you see a fly because I've been trying to get this fly all day long and it followed me down here. It is winter in Canada. There are no flies anymore. What is going on? And we like have a clean home, so I don't know what's going on. This is the Essence Make Me Brow Eyebrow Gel. It has filling fibers and it really does help fill in the brows really well. Mine, I got it in soft brownie brows because I used to use the soft brown in the Anastasia Beverly Hills, but now that I've let my roots of my highlights grow out so long, there's a lot more blonde in the, you know, ends of my hair, but the roots are fully, you know, grown out. And now I think this is a little bit too light. I would like to just get the regular brown, but this one still, it's not too bad, but it just really holds the brow hairs. It really helps fill them in. It's something I like to use if I'm doing like a no makeup day, but I want my brows to have a little bit more shape. Pop this in and it makes them look a little bit more full. It gives that, you know, fullness. I think it does have filling fibers. I think that part of the product is effective. It does help fill in your brows a little bit, but it also holds your brows pretty well. So that's my favorite drugstore brow gel. And actually, my favorite high-end brow gel is clear. And I'm surprised it's my favorite because the brush is huge. So typically that is a no-no for me. I like really, really small brushes. Like the Essence one is pretty tiny. So that's why I love it as well. When I have colored brow gel, I need it to be small because otherwise it makes a mess. But this one here is the Anastasia Beverly Hills as well. It is the clear brow gel. For some reason, I think the reason I like this so much is because it does really hold my brow hairs in place really well. And I do like clear brow gels if I'm going to use one, especially if I'm already placing a pomade on. It just kind of keeps them in place. I will usually fill in the brows first and then go over with this just to kind of get those hairs in the right place and make it look a little bit more like feathery within the pomade, if you know what I mean. So that is my favorite. If you are against like large brushes, you might not like this, but I don't find it gets everywhere. Like it's really good at having the right amount of product on it too, so it's not messy, like it doesn't ruin my foundation or anything. Moving on to eyeshadow primers. One of my favorite drugstore primers is actually the Milani eyeshadow primer. I just feel like it is one I gravitate towards most often out of all of my drugstore ones. It's very similar to the Urban Decay Primer Potion. It's in a squeezy tube. It isn't very pigmented, but it does help grasp the eyeshadow, help your colors, you know, pop, help everything adhere, and also help the long wear. So I really, really like this one. It is very cheap and it is just a good basic eyeshadow primer. I have a hard time picking between these two because realistically, my favorite is the MAC Paint Pot. If you guys have watched my channel before, you will probably know this because I use it almost every time. It's just very creamy. It is pigmented, so it covers up any discoloration, and it does really help with basically the same things I said about the Milani one, helping, you know, the colors of the shadows grasp, be vibrant, be, you know, long wearing. I wanted to give this a good shout out because it is probably my favorite, but the reason I'm putting this one in today's video is because it came out this year and it is one of my favorites, and it kind of took me by surprise. So this is the Hourglass Veil eyeshadow primer. This one is, again, similar to the Milani and similar to the Urban Decay Primer Potion, which is a good OG to compare them to. This one is not going to cover up your discoloration, so you may want to lay down a colored like kind of skin tone or brightening powder on top to lay down a base after you put this on, but it does do a really incredible job at helping your shadows pop, helping your shadows adhere, and be long wearing as well. So I really like this one. I actually also use this one under my eyes. I've been doing that recently, and I kind of, if you guys want to know that technique on how to prevent creasing, comment below because I can give that to you guys. I saw it, I forget whose video I saw it on. So if you want to know the step-by-step of that, if you've never seen that before, I can give that to you guys. Let me know if that's something you're interested in, but I also use it for that, and it actually is like my go-to for that. So now we're going to move on to eyeshadow. This was the hardest category by far of this whole Best in Beauty series. I'm just gonna start. This is really hard for me. I'm like having anxiety thinking about having to pick from these, but I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. So the first drugstore eyeshadow palette that really impressed me, really surprised me, was the Maybelline Nudes of New York palette. I think this was a very well-loved palette by a lot of people. This palette is honestly incredible, and for the price, needs to get a standing ovation because it is high-end quality all the way. The mattes are pigmented, they're blendable, they're really great quality mattes. I think the selection of color that Maybelline has chosen are really great. And then the metallics are very pigmented, very bright. They do have some subtle ones. They just have a good selection of color, but the quality is also there. Let me show you this shade called Fighter. I had never really tried like real drugstore brands like Maybelline, CoverGirl, all those brands. I hadn't tried an eyeshadow palette from them since I was like a teenager. I am super excited to be trying more and more drugstore eyeshadow just to give you some really good recommendations because this is incredible. It is pretty warm toned, so if you're like all the way cool toned, I do have one coming up that I'm gonna recommend to you, but this may not be your palette. There's quite a bit of warm browns, and like this one here is like a reddish orangey metallic. Like they're very pigmented, very light reflecting, very creamy and finely milled. Again, the mattes are absolutely incredible. Look at that. Like look at how rich that is. They're rich, pigmented, blendable. I'm over the moon about this palette, and it is one of my absolute favorite drugstore palettes. So my next drugstore favorite eyeshadow palette is the Stone Cold Fox palette from ColourPop. This is an absolutely incredible palette. It's not the most like exciting palette. It's a pretty neutral palette. This one is pretty cool toned. Another one that's very similar for my warm toned ladies and gentlemen is the Bare Necessities. This isn't my favorite. I would say the Cold Stone Foxes, but I did want to mention this. If you're watching this video and the Stone Cold Fox is too cool toned for you, go and grab the Bare Necessities, because it is a very similar color story, very similar idea behind the palette, but just more warm toned. So, but the Cold Stone Fox is my personal preference between the two. I think it's not only great for individual, it's also great for any makeup artists, because it has amazing transition shades, you know, crease shades, a lot of matte options to really carve out the crease, different degrees of depth, a good amount of browns that you could also do brows with this palette. I think that that's why this palette stands out to me. Incredible quality. ColourPop's eyeshadow is one of my favorite in general. The metallics are creamy, the metallics are very light reflective and shiny, and some of them are more natural, but typically they're very bright and fun. And then the mattes are pigmented, blendable, creamy, not dry, they're not patchy. It's really, really great quality. And I think this palette is the best everyday palette that I've seen in a very long time. So I had some other drugstore favorites, but the one that I chose for my last one is actually the e.l.f. bite-sized shadow palettes. These are the cheapest option out of all of my eyeshadow palettes. These are $3 US, and I think they're what, $3.97 Canadian. They obviously don't provide as many shades as these ones. They're a good small option, but the reason I chose this is because the quality is really, really great. The mattes are very pigmented, blendable, and the metallics are very, very great. They're very creamy, finely milled, light reflective, and just pigmented. Like the metallic from the e.l.f. bite-sized, it's like a cool kind of silvery, champagne-y, as you can see, pigmented. It looks very smooth on the skin, and they do blend really, really well. Obviously, you're not going to get as great color selection from this. It's going to be a good like little travel sized, or if you just need a few shades, it's honestly so good. Price is incredible, and I was actually very pleasantly surprised by that. So now moving on to high-end Huda Beauty Textured Neutrals eyeshadow palette. I tried this for the first time this year. Absolutely fell in love. If you have not tried it, I recommend you do. There's so many reasons I love this palette. Number one, I think the color selection is so versatile. A black, so you can do eyeliner, but you can also do a good smoky eye. There's a darker brown, which is just a staple to me. I love brown eyeshadow, like a good brown eyeshadow look. Orange, so a good warm toned shade. Then there is a lighter brown and a cream, which are absolutely incredible for transition shade, for blending out. Really good staple shades, and then a pink, which is a little bit more cooler toned. You get a good variety of undertones, get a little bit of everything. You can do so many different looks with this. I've mixed the orange and the pink together. It's still created such a fun look. Like you can mix and match these shades. They really mesh well together. And if you have never seen this palette before, basically how it works is there is a row for each texture. So there's a glitter row. So you can see that all the top shades are glitter formula. Then there's metallics. Then there's sequins and mattes. And then each row is color. So this is named memory. So the matte black is matte memory. Then there's sequin memory. There's glitter memory, if that makes sense. I love this palette because every single formula through and through is incredible. The mattes are extremely pigmented, like to the point where like be careful, they're so pigmented. That is one thing I'll say is you pick up a lot of products, so just make sure you're tapping off your excess. They're so pigmented and they blend out really well. The sequins are really, really unique. A matte base with little tiny flecks of glitter, so they're very subtle. So this is for those people that want a really, really subtle glitter, so you can put it kind of on the lid. And just in certain lights you'll see it. The metallics are really, really creamy and very, very pigmented. This is my favorite. This is the Aura one. It is one of my favorite brow bone and inner corner highlights. Pigmented and very creamy. This is the pink one. Like, they're just really, really smooth. I really like the metallic formula. And then my absolute favorite, the glitters are incredible. I'm wearing this glitter right here, the pink one, on my lid today. It is so incredible. They're very stunning shades. They are the most light reflective and fun, creamy glitters. They adhere all by themselves. You don't need glitter glue. You don't need to wet them. They are a little hard to get off. I usually have to use a cleansing balm or a makeup, like you need a real makeup remover. Like my makeup eraser cloth does not remove them. But they're really, really, really great glitters. The best glitter I've ever used. I'm obsessed with this palette. The next palette that I absolutely fell in love with was the Huda Beauty Naughty palette. This was a newer find for me, but I've used it so many times since I found it. It is so stunning, very, very unique. There's one thing about this palette I don't love, and it's this guy right here. It is supposed to be like a gel hybrid. I just don't find any use for it. It's too dark for my skin tone to use it on my face or my brow bone. It doesn't really do a whole lot for me. So that's one shade that I kind of wish would have been replaced by something else, but I'll let that one slide because the rest of the palette's absolutely incredible. They have marbled shades. There's a marbled matte. It turns out to kind of just be like a medium toned brown, but it's so creamy. It almost looks like a cream shadow. Like, look at how incredible that is. So smooth, buttery. Buttery is the best way to describe it. They also have marbled metallics, and those are cool. So they're almost like duochrome, and again, very creamy and smooth and buttery and light reflective. These ones are, because they are the metallics. Then their normal metallics, like their regular metallics, have been some of my favorite metallics just from past palettes I've used. Like, look at how incredible that is. All of her metallic and light reflective shades are very creamy and buttery and pigmented. And then all of her mattes are to die for. One of my absolute favorite matte eyeshadow formulas is from Huda Beauty, and I kind of forgot how much I liked her shadows because I used to love the new nudes, which I still do, but this one I think I like even more because it's newer and it's just a more sultry, and I mean, I guess the idea behind it is sexy, and it is a more sultry palette. I've been really liking warm tones this year, and I really, really like this color scheme. It does have some cool tone pops, like that metallic in the middle there is really cool toned. It has a couple cool toned matte options as well, and it just offers a great color story. The formulas are absolutely incredible. Some of the top shadows I've ever worked with in this palette. If you like the color scheme, I don't think you're going to be disappointed because it's absolutely insane. The next fave of mine is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I'm also wearing this today, so I kind of used 3 different palettes today just so that I could showcase all 3 of them. I used the Tati glitter. I used this for my crease and to blend out. So I used this shade, and this shade. And then I used this one in the inner corner. They're all honestly incredible. Natasha Denona is such an incredible brand. This one is a bit of a cheaper option. She has larger palettes that are like $129 US. They're 170 Canadian. This one is cheaper. A good cool tone palette. You get stunning metallics. Like, look at how creamy that is. So incredible. Like, look at this gold. Look at how like buttery and creamy that is. Her mattes, I'll show you one of her mattes. When I did my cheek video, I realized a lot of the products were swatching horribly because how dry my hands are, but look at how pigmented that matte is, how creamy and smooth it looks, and they do blend out really, really, really beautifully. They're some of the best quality shadows I've used. All of the palettes I'm recommending to you are really great quality-wise. And I just love the color schemes as well. The only reason I'm mentioning this one, this is not my favorite, although I do really like this one. This is really a great palette as well. I think I still like the Glam a little bit more, but this one is like almost the warm version of that. The reason I'm mentioning this is because, again, like I mentioned, the Bare Necessities being the warm version of the Stone Cold Fox, this is almost like the warm version of the Glam. So if you are like, ooh, that Glam palette looks really beautiful and she said it's great quality, but I don't like cool tone, well, I got you guys. Get the bronze one. Decided I was gonna pick 3 and then I couldn't pick 3. So I'm just gonna give an honorable mention because I think that these 3 high-end palettes I just showed you are gonna be the best for my recommendations because there's, you know, a good variety of mattes and metallics. There's good variety of transition shades and whatnot. But I do have to bring in this guy. How can I not mention the Pat McGrath Mega Celestial Divinity palette? This is also a favorite of mine because these metallics and duochromes are out of this world. And the reason it's not necessarily a favorite is because there are only 2 mattes and there's no transition shades in here. So obviously it's not necessarily going to be a palette for everybody, but I just wanted to mention that if you love Pat McGrath's metallics, these do not disappoint. These are absolutely incredible. And this is actually cheaper than her normal mothership palettes. And it's bigger, you get more product and it's cheaper. I don't know why, but we're not complaining. I'll just swatch one for you. Like, as you can see, it's like buttery smooth, very pigmented. It's like a golden shade, but in certain lights, it almost has like a bluish green shift. Really, really cool. So that is just like a quick mention, you know? So my absolute favorite eyeliner is, and I'm a big liquid eyeliner fan, so if you don't love liquid eyeliner, that's the only type of eyeliner I have in today's video, just because these are just the ones that I use a lot. But when I do my best and worst eyeliner, you know, category and video, I will go into each kind of like retractable, brush tip, like I'm gonna go really in depth in that video. But my absolute favorite eyeliner is my Rare Beauty Perfect Strokes matte eyeliner. I'd say it's pretty darn matte. I'm wearing it today. It is very pigmented. It flows really well. It glides on really well. If you go too heavy-handed with it, like if you press too hard, it can deposit too much pigment and it may bleed. But if you're light-handed with it, it does not bleed. So I have inner corners that bleed almost every time, but when I've kind of learned how to use this, you just very, very lightly place it in the inner corner. Like you just use the absolute tip of this. The actual tip is really precise and fine, whereas the actual like base is pretty thick, which I like because when you use the tip, you can get the really fine line, the really precise thin wing. But then you can also lay it on its side where the base is thicker and it's gonna be really quick and glide and deposit really easily. So absolute favorite, like 10 out of 10. If I had to pick one liner in this whole world, it would be this one. I'm obsessed. And then my drugstore favorite is actually from ColourPop. I tried this recently. It's their BFF liquid liner. It is very precise. It's a brush tip. It's really extremely precise and thin. It's really pigmented and it glides on really easily. Again, be a little bit careful in the inner corner. It can bleed sometimes. It's not the absolute best liquid liner. Best one I've tried drugstore wise. I'm on a hunt for a better drugstore one because I haven't tried a ton of them. So that's my own bad, but this one's really good. It doesn't bleed every time for me. So I think it's just sometimes I'm going a little too heavy on the inner corner. So when I'm really careful, it doesn't bleed. So just be careful if you have issues with bleeding to be really like light-handed in the inner corner, to like just kind of lightly tug instead of like dragging it, because then it won't deposit so much product. So now on to mascara. We're almost done, guys. Can you believe it? Let's do this. Drugstore. I have 2 of each because again, I cannot choose. The Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect, and I absolutely love it. Very lengthening. It offers really good volume as well. Very affordable option. It doesn't flake, it doesn't smudge. It's really, really great. It was blown away by this actually because it's so cheap and it really, really gives incredible length while offering pretty good volume as well. So absolutely love this one, along with my Maybelline the Falsies Lash Lift. I'm wearing actually both of these today, so I applied this one, and then I applied this on the ends just to make them a little bit longer. Not that it really needed it, because this does a great job at lengthening as well. Like, it honestly does an incredible job at lengthening. It gives incredible volume. They both separate the lashes really, really well. I think this one's a little bit better at separating the lashes. It is one of my absolute favorite mascaras in general, and I really love both of these drugstore affordable options. High-end faves. This is probably one of my favorite mascaras in general, and it is the Kush Mascara by Milk Makeup. I tried this year and was blown away. It's good at volume, it's good at length, it's good at separation, it's good at, like, it holds your curl. It is so good. It makes my eyes pop. Really incredible, and it's vegan as well. So if you're looking for a vegan mascara, this is, Milk Makeup is vegan. I have a lot of favorite mascaras. A lot of them I like to layer though. So I tried to pick the ones that I thought were the best standing alone, like applying on their own. And the Kush Milk Makeup one is my favorite, I think. I think it is my favorite. And then my last favorite mascara, high end, is my Fenty Beauty. This is the Full Frontal Mascara. It has a very unique brush. Honestly great at volume and length as well. It provides really incredible length. Length is something I need in mascara. My lashes are decently voluminous and like they are pretty curly, but they just are kind of shorter. So if my lashes could just grow a bit, I would have like fantastic lashes, but of course, you know, in a perfect world, right? This one does a really great job at, you know, making my eyes pop. It really separates the lashes, you know, doesn't apply too much product. The formula is great, the brush is great. Again, volume, length, curl, the whole shebang. None of these mascaras flake, none of them smudge, and this one is, again, a great option. Then I have one last product, and it is a lash adhesive, the Velour Lash and Go. When I first used this, I did not like it, and I did not use it for months after, but then I thought, you know what, let's try this a different way. So when I first used it, I used it as an eyeliner. That's where I went wrong. So I used it like to do the whole wing. It got in my lashes, it ruined my mascara. I was having trouble. Now, how I use it is I do my eyeliner with a normal like liquid or potted, like however I'm gonna do my eyeliner, and then typically will do my mascara, and then I'll go in with this and just do a very, very thin line along the base of the lashes, just where I need to apply the false lashes. So I don't actually use it as necessarily an eyeliner. The only time I would use it as an eyeliner is if I'm not gonna actually apply like a winged eyeliner. I would just go in with this at the base of the lashes, just how I described, just so that I had something to conceal the band. It's really great because it's so easy. You apply it to the like actual eye first and then pop the lashes on. It kind of saves time, and it honestly has made my life a lot easier when I'm applying false lashes. I really, really love this. It's one I recommend. The only reason I didn't like it as an eyeliner is because it's not the best eyeliner formula, because I like to do a wing. If you like just a very thin line, I think you'd be happy with this as an eyeliner. It just makes it easier. It really does. That is today's video coming to an end. These are my favorite eye products. So that was a lot to cover, I know. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more Best in Beauty videos to come. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.